It is the 30th of the 12th, 2024. The time is 17 minutes past 10, and there are very many F1 centric threads at which we need to pull. We need to talk about the calendar. We need to talk about the desecration of one Ayrton Senna's memorial at the Imola circuit. So too, we need to talk about mass scoffing at the mere conception, the imagination, the instance that is Jos Verstappen potentially destabilising the bulls that were red in the season that was 2024. So too, we need to talk about the Toto, the boy who cried wolf, still making excuses for his team's lack of success over the past 36 months. And so too, we need to talk finally, last on the docket, about Ferrari and their car, because this is going to be a story that's going to run and run, whether these guys and girls, Scuderia Ferrari, the bulls that are red, so too Mercedes and McLaren can continue to develop and extrapolate the performance at the rate at which they were doing last year, because of course the winners and all the losers will be by dint of that. Let's talk about the calendar first. Techie, 3 triple headers, 3 triple heads. What are you talking about, Cameron? 3 triple headers next year. They will be, of course, at Suzuka, Sakir and Jeddah. April the 4th to April the 6th will be the first of those at the Suzuka Grand Prix. April the 18th to the 20th will be the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Your second triple header of this season will be Imola, Monaco, Barcelona. Those will happen at May 16th to May the 18th. That will be the Italian Grand Prix, the first of them this year at Imola, and then your final of that triple header will be at Spain, Barcelona, and then your final triple header of the 3 will be at the USA Grand Prix, or Las Vegas Grand Prix indeed, November the 20th to the 22nd, and then the final of those will be Abu Dhabi, December 5th to December 7th. That would be your season finale. And again, it's one of those, isn't it? I know we like to have a moan as the F1 community more broadly around the scheduling, but they've tried to be more sustainable, right? F1 don't want to spend £1 gazillion and expand its carbon footprint. Indeed, they want to do the inverse of that, be more sustainable, more green, and they've done that to a large extent. However, I still see Canada, June the 13th to June the 15th, in the middle of the European circuit. What is that about? I understand that they have contractual obligations and it makes sense to have the Montreal Grand Prix there, but bloody Nora, between Spain and Austria, sustainability settings, F1 and the FOM are going to F1 each and every single time. What's new for New Year's? We'll talk about New Year's. Bloody Nora, Michael. 3 a.m. Hard work, dedication, any. We'll talk, Michael, I promise. Go on then. By the way, I don't want to go scorched earth this morning, but I'm forced to. Just when I thought it was out, they bring me back in. Ayrton Senna's memorial was desecrated, vandalised on Christmas Eve at Imola. The story goes that there were young people and they were just having a laugh. It's Christmas Eve. They were drinking. Fix it, FOM. Track promoters, whoever, sort it out now. These things happen, right? And I understand that. But fix for that now. That is Ayrton Senna's memorial. One of the goatiest peddlers that we'll ever see. 1988 Monaco settings. 1993 Donegan. Fix it then. It's not good enough, but again, young kids do things sometimes, don't they? But fix it, FOM, whoever, the track promoter, I don't care, sort it out. The next pictures that I see of that station, of the Ayrton Senna Memorial, needs to be as it was, because I don't think we should stand for it, F1 community, I will be honest. But I digress. Look, Toto Wolff has come out and said some things again, as you would expect him to. Still talking about, listen, let me tell you why I call Toto the boy who cried wolf as such. That's his name now. I've got to refer to him that, as disparaging as it is, poetic license settings, because he's been promising that he was going to bring Lewis Hamilton an 8 for the longest time. I can't trust him, therefore. He is, by dint of his comments, an unreliable relator. Now, where is that 8th? Where is that fast card capable of winning races and therefore championships? Nowhere to be bloody seen. Toto the boy who cried wolf. He's talking about their success and Lewis Hamilton's final tour and saying, listen, we did our best. Unfortunately, we didn't have a car. The reason being, it's because it's the most competitive motorsport in the world. We were lucky and blessed to have won 8 consecutive world titles, 6 drivers He continues, quote, "That wasn't done before in any other sport and Lewis won 7 drivers' championships. You can't extrapolate form that you're going to win forever or that you're in the hunt for every single championship. That just doesn't happen. And the regulations were changed at blah, 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 blah." Bloody Nora. Like, what are we doing, Toto Wolff? Like, honestly, I'm losing patience for this chap. If he goes and builds a car next year, then perfect. All is forgiven, right? Well, at least all is forgiven from my perspective in the F1 community more broadly, because of course we're invested in a levelling of the competitive landscape. The more, the merrier. Can you guys imagine a championship where you've got George fighting with Max, fighting with Charles, fighting with Lewis, fighting with Lando? I'm all there for it. That's exactly what we want. But yeah, again, for the avoidance of doubt, to state the obvious, he's told us on a gazillion occasions now that he was going to build a car capable of winning races and therefore championships. Ever since they made that mistake in 2022 and then continued to roll that failed concept of a zero pod into 2023, I'm thinking that they've failed. It's low-level decision-making. For the mistake in the first instance, everybody makes mistakes. This is true. This is a fact. But continuing to roll them forward. You want to talk about extrapolation, Toto? Well, you were warned by Mr. Wright many moons ago that porpoising was going to be a thing in 2022, and you didn't even answer the email chat. That for me is low-level noddy decision making, but I digress. Toto continues talking about Michael Jordan. He says he played 12 seasons or whatever. He won 6 championships. Were the other a failure? We've been together 12 years now in this championship and we've won 8. Are the others a failure? We finished third 2 years ago. We finished second last year. Bearing in mind we haven't won a race and we won 3 this year. So is that a failure, mate? Save me with the rhetoric, Toto. Listen, I understand. You either win or you learn. I get it. That's a phrase that comes right out of a managerial handbook copy. It's motivational speaking now, but sometimes there is less chat, more action, Toto, I would think at this point. Build yourself a car. King George won't stand for this. He's come to win. He's a killer in real time. If ever you saw one, build him a car. Then you couldn't build Lewis Hamilton a car capable of winning him an unprecedented 8th world championship. But you owe it to George now going forward. Stop with the talk, surely. Chaos Safak, you're an absolute legend. You're going to do a special video live stream when I will at 40k soon, Safak. On that note, like, share. Safak, you're a legend. You're far too generous, Safak. We're going to have to do something for 40k. I'm riffing in real time and talking extemporaneously, so I don't know the answer to those exam questions, those very difficult exam questions, stuff like that, but we'll do something. I'm planning to do a 12-hour stream at some point between now and the start of the season. I want to do an all-day stream. That's the honest truth, Safak, but keep that between you and me and we. Like, I'll talk more about it, but no, we've got to do something to celebrate, Safak. But I digress. Ferrari, less than 1%. Frederick Vasseur said that the car next year will be less than 1% as far as its similarity and parallels to the 2023 SF or 2024 even SF24 iteration. I'm not sure what to make of this. Surely you want to continue doing one of the... This was the problem that Mercedes had with the W13, right? Throwing the dartboard at the darts. I want to see this continuous, deliberate growth rate, right? Incremental gains rather than just this random walk design philosophy. Like, you've got to improve like this, right? And I'm not sure that Ferrari would be doing that if indeed they're going to switch up the whole car. They're saying that 1%, that's how many things they will bring forward from last year's cars to next year. And this year's car even to next year's. And I don't know if that's the right thing. Pull rod, push rod, etc., etc. We saw them bring forward an experimental floor in Qatar that ultimately they didn't use. This, ladies and gentlemen, is going to get techier than techie things for Ferrari and the rest. McLaren too. Can McLaren continue to develop and learn and grow at the rate that they have? Flexi-wing, mini DRS, it's going to be techie. That's going to be the plot line going into next year that everybody's going to need to pay attention to. Red Bull too. Pierre Vacher saying that they're not sure how they can improve the car. What are we doing here? Red Bull, you better make sure you improve that car, or else we're going to have to start talking about you in the same vein as Toto, the boy who cried wolf's Mercedes. You think Max Verstappen is having that with the fifth and unprecedented nearly Michael Schumacher settings and one Manuel Fangio, but a record-breaking fifth consecutive back-to-back on the line? Bloody Nora. It's techie. But as far as Ferrari are concerned, Gazzetta is reporting that it's all changing. It's all going to be different. They're going to bring in all these experimental parts. They're going to reconfigure the suspension setup. For the longest time, they've been using push and push, I want to say. Now it will be pull at the front, push at the back. Like, what are we doing here? I don't know. I hope it all pans out. But Frederick Vasseur, in his intonation, there is something in his tone that smacks of stubbornness. Now, Scuderia Ferrari need to be adaptable to change, because for the avoidance of doubt, it's not the strongest of the species that survives, but the most adaptable to change, never more than in F1, never more than now going into 2025. This article continues that Ferrari need to learn from the failed 2024 update package. Do you remember that everybody was bringing updates? Some of them were working, some of them were taking back. As your Exhibit A, Red Bull, they brought updates earlier on in the season, and then all of a sudden post Miami, it took them back. Towards the end of the season, they were trying to unwind for that, to understand where they went wrong, why the car is as near as makes no difference, undrivable. They'd seen correlation, and they'd brought all of these bits that where they were expecting to see massive material gains in downforce. But the equal and opposite downside, of course, was that it made the car undrivable. Understeer settings, inertia valve settings, allegedly, all of the aforementioned. So they need to avoid for that, right? If you take one step back, then you're taking two steps back if indeed all the other teams continue to develop incrementally. Aston Martin too brought upgrades. Whatever happened to those? Took them steps backwards, while the likes of McLaren and Mercedes were advancing all the while. Andrea Stella said that he delayed McLaren's new floor being installed as he was worried about the impact the same part had on other teams' performance. Ferrari, again, Monaco, they were brilliant, but then something happened. They delivered an update in Spain that set them back for several races, and it could be argued that one package lost them the title. These need to avoid backward steps. Therefore, Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes, all of them, particularly the bulls that are red. Speaking of the bulls that are red, well, Maximilian Verstappen has had some things to say when being questioned by the Telegraph, Netherlands publication. Lest we forget that all F1 publications are created equally, but some are created more equal than others. Max Verstappen, when asked about his father's disrupting facet on the team in 2024, he said, absolutely, that's nonsense. My father is very quick to see the big picture, he told the Telegraph. Certain things that happen affect the future of me and the team. Some people on the outside may not see that. Max Verstappen continues, and I quote, when it was very turbulent around the team in 2-4, we still had the fastest car. Fortunately, otherwise, it would have been a lot harder for everybody. Since Miami in early May, Max says, there have been very few races where I've had the fastest car, and yet I still beat everyone to the title. I am proud of how we as a team dealt with the difficult races and often still made the most of them. Oh, the humanity, Max. Not pulling any punches is that fella. But listen, if Max Verstappen is anything, he's a truth sayer, right? And he said already when Mohammed Ben Sulayem last year tried to coerce him, implore him to come out and support verbally his team principle. Max said, I'm not doing that. Well, you want me to come and stand against my father, the man who brought me into this world, the man who brought me into Formula One, the man to whom I owe everything? Absolutely not. For all of his foibles and travails, which are multitudinous, do you think Max is going to come out and speak out against his father in favour of Christian Horner team principle? Absolutely flipping not. And I think Max is to be commended for that. I will be honest. Of course, Jos isn't the most stabilising of element, but he is father of Max. What do you want him to do? Christian Horner, this is your facet, this is your prerogative to manage him. Therefore, what I don't want to see Christian Horner doing next year, if indeed we are invested in Max Verstappen's 5th championship, optimising for Max Verstappen's performance, I don't want to hear him come out at the Austrian Grand Prix and say, you know what, Jos isn't driving that car. I know I promised him a cheeky drive of Max Verstappen's championship-winning car at the Legends Parade, but he's not driving it anymore. If Toto wants a Verstappen, then maybe Jos is available. There is banter when there is banter, but bloody Nora, Christian, every barb, every shot fired at Jos Verstappen surely is by extension a shot at Max. And you got away with it last year, but got away with it is the pertinent, no operative term, only just by the skin of your teeth. I would counter. I would see you that and raise you this, Christian Horner, any other driver not named Max Verstappen, and you guys would have had yourself a Drivers' Championship. Maybe Lewis Hamilton, if indeed he's had his Weetabix. Lewis Hamilton of 2018 potentially could have done that. Helmut Marko said as much. But any of those other 18 drivers on the grid, no chance. So too, Max Verstappen and Jos have come out and they've spoken about 2022. You remember the time in Brazil when we were all mad and hot and fiery about the fact that Max, having wrapped up the championships, didn't cede the place to Checo Perez, who was still in the fight for second place in the drivers, aka the vice championship. Max came out and said, you know what, I gave my reasons and I stand by it. That's why I'm not going to give the place back to Checo Perez. Remember, they did the switcheroo, get after Fernando Alonso. Max, if you can't overtake him, then give back the place. You remember, like Lewis and Valtteri did many moons ago, give back the place. Max was like, I'm not giving back the place. What are you on about? Don't ask me that again. Many people speculated that it was on the back of Checo Perez's, in inverted commas, deliberate crash at Monaco. Here's what he had to say. Jos Verstappen now, speaking of that incident to a Dutch publication. He said that question came around doing the switcheroo with Max, giving it back to Checo Perez. But Max had talked about it before the trip to Brazil and they weren't going to ask. And suddenly that question came over the onboard radio anyway. It was GP saying, can you give back the place? Max said, I'm not giving back the place. Don't ask me that again. We talked about this in the summer. It was Monaco. I'm not giving back the place. Do I like that? Not necessarily. I wish that Max Verstappen, especially in real time, you can go back and watch the bloody watch along. I wished that Max had given back that place. I didn't feel like that reflected too well on Mr. Verstappen. But if indeed you're a championship winner, a fire-breathing dragon, a young, hungry lion of an F1 driver, and you want to win yourself 25 points each and every single time, stakes notwithstanding, then that's what you're going to do. Love him or loathe him. That, ladies and gentlemen, is Max Emilian Verstappen. Max is the one person who keeps their word, says Kayla. Might some of the Ferrari changes be with Lewis Hamilton's preferences in mind, says Ralph. So, go on, we'll talk to this very quickly as we round third base. Absolutely not. If you're to take Frederick Vasseur at face value, he said that the one thing that they're not going to do is carve the team in Lewis Hamilton's image, particularly when asked about taking Bono from Mercedes, lifting and dropping him into Ferrari, that what they want to do is continue to build. I think this has always been Frederick Vasseur's philosophy, to a fault, potentially. You remember at the start of this year when we were talking about their suspension settings, and they did push rod settings at the front and the rear, where everybody else had converged on what was deemed to be the apex predator, having push at the front, pull at the back, just like Red Bull, because Adrian Newey said that frees up some aerodynamic tricks that you can do at the rear. That's the optimum. If Adrian Newey says it, surely rules of first principle defer to that then. But Ferrari didn't do it. They said that they'd seen something in the wind tunnel in their CFD that they figured that they could unlock, that would lead to durable competitive advantage on the rest. Only to now, 1 year later, now they want to converge on the mean. It makes no sense. I hope that Scuderia don't do this stubborn thing that they have the tendency of doing, saying that this is our way or it's the highway. Sometimes I get the thing not building the team around Lewis, not necessarily. You've got to make some adaptations, but Frederick Vasseur says they are not even one iota. Who knows, eh? So long as they build themselves a fast car, a car that Lewis is capable of operating with, optimizing for, then I think that's the first order priority. The rest of it is sprinkles. Fades to black ultimately for Gazy. It won't really matter much. Jeannie says, Christian, oh no, Horner thrives on drama. Miss RS gets it from Jet. Oof. You know what? I know you're saying that disparagingly, Caleb, but I don't think you're a million miles off. Here's what I think on Christian. Now, let me say for the avoidance of doubt, if we're talking Christian Horner, if we're taking one team principal into the trenches, give me Christian Horner every single day of the week. Maybe Andrea Stella potentially, but he's got some growing and improving to do, right? He's a young team principal. If we're talking about being in the trenches with one of them, give me Christian Horner every single day of the week over a Toto, the boy who cried wolf. Are you having a laugh? Like, no chance. At an instant, like quick fire. But as far as Christian Horner is an ability, I think he realises the era that Formula One's in. And it is the blockbuster era. This is the attitude era now, to use the WWE terminology. There is lap time in being able to leverage your profile. I remember somebody saying on a podcast that of the team principals, Christian Horner's the only one to still hold a banquet, a dance, a party annually for journalists. Because he knows that there is value in there. No lap time, in incurring favour, fostering rapport with those guys and girls who are holding the journalistic pen. That's Christian Horner for you. And so too, I think on the back of Drive to Survive and the way that it's captured a mainstream audience is indeed building F1 audience in real time. I think Christian Horner realises this and wants to leverage that. He sees that sometimes he's going to have to get his elbows out and get his face in front, turn around his cap and get in the face of the race director. And indeed, the bigger that your profile, the more effectively you can do that. I think Christian Horner is critically aware of that. That's why you get the meme piece, that scene between Christian and Toto even, where Christian's saying, fix your fudging car. How many times have you seen that as a meme? And it perception is reality, right? If you look and feel and appear like you're dominating Toto, the boy who cried wolf, then that's all she wrote. And I think Christian Horner's critically aware of that. I don't think he's invested in stardom for stardom's sake. Yeah, he panders to the press and the media sometimes, and he's a bit bantered. Like, I disagree vehemently with banning Jos from driving his son's car at the Legends Parade and cracking jokes at Jos's expense. I don't think that was necessarily the right way. That is probably an exhibit A of what you're alluding to, Kayla, him being stardom for stardom's sake. But I would contend that 8-9 times out of 10 maybe, I think Christian Horner's wary that there is advantage in there, and that's what he's leveraging it for. Must admit, CH gives a good, and Miss RS, he's sharp as a razor in those fix your fudge. He's sharp as a razor, telling you. He's just he's a different level, very iconic and hilarious. He's a legend, right? As we round third base, you guys have been legends. Same time later on, talking about all things news. I think the news is kicking off. I feel like there's going to be a big news. I don't know. My spidey senses are tingling. But I feel like there's going to be a big news story kick off at some point today. And we'll be here to talk about it each and every single time, as we always are. You guys have been legends. Between now and next time, the prosecution rests. No further questions.